single digits. Well, joining me live to discuss this is Simeon Tegel. He's a journalist based in Lima in Peru. Simeon, thanks for being with us on BBC News. Talk us through briefly, what's the background to this story? How did the Peruvian president end up in this situation?
So back in mid-2023, she very quietly, without announcing it or telling anyone, just kind of withdrew from her official duties for a couple of weeks. There was no announcement. Her various official presidential social media feeds kept putting out content that made it seem as though she was still on the job. But it was then alleged afterwards by a Peruvian newspaper that actually, no, she'd gone and had a nose job, and they were saying that this was a cosmetic procedure. And for well over a year, she didn't respond to that allegation. She didn't even acknowledge it, never mind deny it. And then as she's been getting into more and more political trouble, in December, she suddenly gave a TV address in which she admitted she had had surgery on her nose, but insisted it was necessary. She was having breathing issues. But she's now accused of abandoning her post. She was being interrogated, really, by the Attorney General here for 4 hours this morning. And she's in, I think, deep political trouble. It's probably worth saying that this is just one of a laundry list of ethical scandals that she is facing. And she really is deeply, deeply unpopular. It's very difficult to find any Peruvian who actually supports her or has a good word to say for her.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next, Simeon. I mean, I was looking there and her current approval rating is about 3% or so. How have people reacted to this latest event?
Well, I think most people wrote her off a long time ago as a leader who is either effective or capable or actually cares about Peru. She came to power. There were huge anti-government protests. Security forces killed about 50 people. Everyone from the UN to Amnesty International has described those killings as excessive force, illegal, even extrajudicial executions. She has repeatedly defended those killings. She's had one ethical corruption scandal after another. There's also Rolex Gate, in which she's accused of accumulating or acquiring a jewellery collection worth £400,000 on a £40,000 salary. And this is all in a country which has all kinds of problems. Half of Peruvians experience food insecurity. 40% of toddlers in Peru have anemia. So there's really, really urgent, pressing problems that the president, most Peruvians would argue, is not interested in.
Now, there have been calls for her to resign, many of them. Will she?
No, I mean, she's been facing calls to resign almost since day one when she took office. Initially, it looked like she might do that. But then she had a change of heart, and now she's clinging on, I would say, not just to the presidency, but to the presidential immunity that gives her, because she's facing criminal investigations about all the things I just mentioned, Rolex Gate, the security forces killing of protesters, and now this as well. So I think when she does eventually lose the presidency, there's a good chance she might go straight from the presidential palace to jail in pre-trial detention, or at the very least house arrest. So she right now has strong incentives not to resign, I would say.
OK, Simeon Tegel there, journalist in Lima in Peru. Thank you very much for talking to us about that story.